is up, blockchain gang? This is Danny Draghi with a guide to the PvP Valley of Life and Death Arena in MIR4. While this game is heavily pay to win, this arena normalizes your power and prioritizes skill, teamwork, and quick thinking. After about a dozen rounds, it's become clear that many players are confused about how this arena works, so I wanted to make this guide for beginners on up to novices and hope that my teams will stop being so bad at the game. The first thing you need to understand is that this is a race. It doesn't matter who kills who, all that matters is which team has the most points. This race is like a snowball though, so the faster you run, the faster you'll be able to go. If you're running in the wrong direction, it doesn't really matter how fast you're going though, so let's walk through a full game played out for you on a map here. Starting out, you'll have 10 teams of 5 players, with each team sharing one side of the pentagon-shaped arena. Now, don't be an idiot and fly off to the center of the map. Just drop down and face off against the team that shares your leg of the pentagon. This should be the only fair fight or coin flip that you take during this whole match. And what I mean by that is that you should always be fighting from a position of strength, either with numbers or an outright power advantage. When you go up against an even fight or a stronger team, you will finish much higher if you just run away and gather your strength. As you defeat gem holders and pick up their tokens, as well as tokens from slain enemies and bosses, you'll gain points and strength, which will help you turn the tides of future battles in your favor. The way to win is to get the most points while killing people who get in your way. This can be done most effectively by playing the map objectives, which change over the course of the game. So in the early stage, you're fighting over the first buffs that spawn, and then the next fight should take place at the point of the pentagon. So Team 4 would start off fighting Team 3, and then regardless of how that fight goes, they should quickly move to fight 5 over at the first boss spawn. Hopefully you'll win both of these fights, and your team should be in the first or second place. If you don't contest these buffs or the bosses, you're basically handing a free win over the teams that you let walk all over you. Even if you lose either of these fights, still try to loot as many buff tokens and slow them down as much as possible while avoiding fights until you have the enemy greatly outnumbered. At this time, you should take your points on the pentagon and its middle leg leading up to the center and farm all the buffs that spawn while killing any stragglers separated from their teams. Now we've reached the midpoint of the game. The blue gem holders will spawn, so you'll want to move in towards the center and capture those while watching the map carefully for the bosses to spawn. The goal, if you are a top team, is to kill everyone around the boss and lure them back to the middle leg of that platform so you can keep players from looting the tokens and control the choke points where players will enter or exit from. If you're on a losing team, you'll want to keep a safe distance and run in after the boss is slain to steal what you can. The biggest throws tend to happen in the mid game when teams are sticking together and fighting other teams for absolutely no reason. While you may get a few hundred points for wiping an entire team in a minute, you can get a few thousand points in a few seconds if you play around these objectives. Once the tokens are gone, don't try to stick around and fight because you're likely surrounded by teams and there's way too much for you to risk if you lose this fight. Fly out of there and gather some blue orbs and wait for the next objective to fight over. I frequently hear my team complain about me not staying with them as a healer, and I could do that and help them lose slower if only I listened, but if they would just follow the objectives around the map, we would always be together. The goal should be first place every match and not just a high KDA. If you're behind, you will have to take some chances to get ahead, or you're never going to catch up because your opponents will always outpace you. Even when a match is lost, you'll want to maximize your individual score, and that's done by ratting tokens that honestly don't belong to you. In the end game, everyone's on the central platform. Be ready for the big boss to spawn and loot your tokens. The golden chests are a trap, so don't bother trying to open them, but if you are a top team, this is a great place to farm kills until the end of the match. Also, be on the lookout on top of the pillars around the center ring that also have large gold or epic colored stone holders that many times have enough tokens to clinch the victory or gain that final boost you need to take the lead. A few more tips are to focus all of your fire on the same target. Hopefully it's the enemy enemy healer first, but using the debilitation effects and CC of your allies, you can take down targets very quickly. But if you are all focused on 5 separate 1v1s, the enemy is going to burn you down over time with AoE, and it's easy to soak your damage with heals. After you wipe a team, you'll want to wait about 10 to 15 seconds before you start attacking and collect the buffs around you so your cooldowns can come back up and your DPS or healer's ability to heal isn't drastically reduced. Be sure to save the red and blue orbs for allies who need health and mana, but guard them by standing near it so an enemy can't snatch it before you. Those are all the tips I have for you today. Do you have any you'd like to add? Let me know in the comments. Thank you for watching, and don't forget to subscribe so we can do this again sometime. We made horse. It's in the game.